was a pageant queen from age 12 to 27. So the stage is like my second breath. And even though I may not have known how to pose, because initially when I first started in bikini, masters was over 30. And I can remember being at a show and asking the young ladies, like, well, how old are you? And they were all just over 30. And I was like, oh, well, and I was 51. Okay. And my philosophy has always been I've been walking in heels longer than you've been alive. So whether I get it right or not, they gonna know I was there because mama gonna strut. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's been a transition because pageantry is very much different from bodybuilding.
hmm Yeah, because it's more of a you got a presentation. You walk like you walk on air, but then with bodybuilding, you have to be a certain look, a certain development. With bikini, what I learned, it's I think a lot harder to maintain because you can't really grow in that division compared to the others. Like if you do figure or you do women's bodybuilding, you can't really grow as much because
What
you
do you
want
mean by
to.
that?
Well, like for one thing, if you look at the divisions now, like women's bodybuilding physique and even
Hmm.
figure, ladies can grow and evolve over time.
Hmm.
But with bikini, is like not a lot of room for so much for growth. It's more
Oh
like
no,
a
no,
maintenance thing.
no. Bikini is very much like the other divisions. You grow, you develop because you get the feedback from the coaches on the areas that you need to work on. And it depends on what the look is. What are judges more likely to award pro cards or pros win in? Is it broader shoulder caps? Is it tighter, the tie ins with the glutes? So the physique aesthetic of bikini is just as intense as it is in figure, not the muscularity so much, but even that is evolving. That's the
Mhm.
reason why, the division that you coughed on, that's the reason why
I,
fit model is there.
I ain't
Okay.
cough, man. I ain't cough. Hot. That's
Oh,
that's.
okay.
I ain't
All
gonna.
right.
I ain't doing no. Not like an old man. I mean, again, I understand that, but the
Fit
problem is like
model,
anything.
yeah, because fit model is there because, and just so you give you some background, what fit model is today is what bikini was back when
10
I
years ago.
started.
10
Yes,
years ago. Yeah,
okay.
I'm aware of
Even
that.
the posing, even the posing is the same. So just like bikini has evolved, fit model will evolve, but the whole aspect of fit model is not to be as muscular as bikini. Bikini not as muscular and bottom legs and glutes as wellness, and then so forth and so on. So there are demarcations for each division.
Yeah, because like one thing is like there's women right now who are moving down from bikini into fit model, and I think that might change the aspect because that happened with women's physique. We saw women coming down from bodybuilding to that division. Bring those same aesthetics, the fullness of capness, the styration, the glutes, and then right now just there's a controversy where just a young lady who just competed at a show for Olympic qualification. If you know her, Sarah Bradley, some say she looks more like women's bodybuilding than she does actually physique. And
Okay.
yeah, it's just again, it goes by how the guidelines are being thin like this. So,
And you have to be aware. I mean, you have to be mindful of the fact that each show brings a different different competitors of different body compositions, and they're being judged according to what is there.
mhm,
Okay, so it's not like judges have this mindset of where is number 555, is she the same as number 563 from the show 6 weeks ago? No, totally. It's a whole new slate.
mhm. Well, thank you for that prospect. 'Cause, I am an outsider looking in, man. I'm just still getting educated bit by bit. So anyway, so your last time you competed was at the North Americans, and you
Yes.
were doing 60 plus. And again, I looked at this woman and say, I mean, I don't, I thought she was a little bit younger than me because I'm gonna be 52 in November, And
Oh wow, okay.
yeah, yeah. I had the pleasure of not having children and a woman, so I don't age it fast. So
Oh wow. Now see, my dad would say, my dad, if he was still alive, he lived to be 90. He was what he passed 10 days before his 92nd birthday, but he would tell you that having daughters, three daughters, was the pinnacle of his life, and with his grandchildren. Yes. So that led to a long, successful life.
where my mom, she passed away too, and she had three daughters and three boys, and that my parents were together for a long time, even though they were living in separate places. But
Right.
yeah, children are a pleasure. I have nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews. I love them, but that's one of my greats as a man, not having one of my own. So you have a family. So
Yes.
what's your family like? Are how are your kids? What they doing?
Oh
And
wow.
again, do you have a man? So I just I wouldn't want to be hitting on you too much.
I'm currently single. Divorced for the past 17 years, I think. I lost count. But from that union, we had three children: 40, 33, soon to be 34, and 29. And then my grandson will be 16 on June 16th. So yes.
Well, that's your. Which one is this? It's your daughter's son.
Yeah, my oldest daughter. It's her
Yeah.
son.
Well, tell him. Remember to put a boy in his place and beat him down, like because because the 16 think like my shit don't stick. No, beat him down, put him in place.
Now
Yeah.
he's pretty grounded. He's a really intelligent kid. He's pretty grounded. His dad is, both his parents are former military, so it's not like that. They're just going to be loose with the structure. And besides, that's my grandson.
Yeah.
Even
That's
when
it.
he was a
Yeah.
baby, I was instilling structure. Okay.
Well, my mother, she raised my two older nephews, and that's the thing about grandparents. Y'all, you beat on us kids, but then you treat the babies like they were special, like they were like like, well, why don't you give us so much love, Mama? Why you give him all that love? I'm your child. No, 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 he's special. He's special. He's special.
Well, that is a point. That is something that my children talk about is, where was all of this patience when we were growing up? And my response is the beauty, and I actually said this, my daughter reminds me of this often, because I was present at his birth. I was literally there. Okay. And, the first thing I said was, it's all about him now. You all are, it's all about him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all grandparents, y'all make me sick sometimes. But anyway, but back to your it's the thing about this sport. It's a lot to do and compete, especially for a woman. The mentality of it, the training regimental. People don't understand about bodybuilding, especially from the outside. They look at it as like I just pop some magical pills and I just get big. I'll be like yolk. But there's more to it. Like especially you're doing it naturally, which is I think was a lot harder because it takes you more time to put on
Yes.
the size
Yeah.
and also the conditioning compared to the enhanced competitors.
Yes, it does take longer, but I'm of the mindset that I'm not putting anything in my body that I don't know what the long term effects are going to be, or if there is scientific evidence that the long term effects are detrimental. So that's the reason why, again, it aligns with how I view my body. And for me, bodybuilding is more of a spiritual practice than about the aesthetics of it. Because from each prep brings out aspects of myself that I need to address, whether it is, the walk. Because one of the things that I recognize is that the walk that a female bodybuilder utilizes on stage in that little bikini is a walk that growing up, girl, you better not have your, sticking your chest out and your butt poked out. What's wrong with you? You were raised better than that. So, and really, when I first started, that was a tape running in my head. It was like, wow, they really implanted that about how a proper girl carries herself. Okay. A properly raised girl carries herself. But when it comes to bodybuilding, it's not about, the sexualization. I recently saw a question somewhere on social media about is female bodybuilding is bodybuilding over sexualized, and perhaps to outsiders it does look sexual. However, to those of us who train and train our bodies in the gym and then pose endlessly in those heels. No, it has nothing to do with sexualization. It's all about physique and presentation and
Mhm.
getting up
But
there with the best package that you have worked for anywhere from 16 to 20 weeks to be on stage for one show.
mhm.
So,
That thing is because I think with y'all who are in the sport, you don't see it sexual. Again, it goes back to us on the outside, especially
correct.
like for you see guys wear a pair of banana hammocks and boy short half naked, and you see women like y'all in little bikini little suits, y'all glazed up and you're all tanning, you smiling, and then you get some freak out there says, "Who's that? Who's that tall drink of water on the stage?" Because again, like anything, especially society mindset can be sexualized. Like people think like, I've seen comments when I post stuff, I have guys talking about that's a
Hmm.
dude, that's a man, yada yada. And I'm saying, what do you see that you think is a man? This is a lovely, like if she's like, even with a woman like yourself, if you see any kind of muscle that is not considered very feminine, then say she's all man. Hell no. But then there's some freaks can be a little weird saying, yeah, I like her. She kind of excites me. But come on, guys, calm down. This is a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Be respectful. But
Yeah.
again, it's so easy to take something and twist it in a way, you know, the fundamentals of a sport. And goes back to the consistency, the persistence, the patience,
Hmm.
the determination, and everything that's involved in it as you grow. Like you talk about your coach, it's what's his name and how long y'all been together?
Calvin Williams is my coach, building bodies. And I actually reached out to him. It would have been like December of 2024. And I was going to walk in the Angel competition bikini because I'm an ambassador for Angel competition bikini. And I was going to walk in the Angel fashion show at the Arnold in Columbus, Ohio. And I wanted to train to walk the show, okay? And so Calvin, he hits me back and he says, "So you're only doing a fashion show?" And then I was like, it doesn't make sense for me not to compete. If I'm going to lift and meal prep so that I can look like I'm going to be in the show, I might as well be in the show. And it was great because I went to the Ohio, I'm an alum of the Ohio State University. So going back home to Columbus, well, my home is Cincinnati, but going back to my second home of Columbus, Ohio, to actually compete in the Arnold, which actually started while I was an undergrad at Ohio State. It was a full circle moment and it felt great. And I placed second. So yeah, it was great.
Well, I used to be a big fan of the Arnold Classic till he pushed out women's bodybuilding, women's physique and figure. I was a fan of his movies, like Arnold, like if you killed it, he would bleed. But then I heard his stance on when it comes down to certain divisions, like women's bodybuilding physique. He's not a big much of a fan, of it. But it's his business. It's his company where he want to do it's fine. But I feel like it's not a representation of all divisions. I mean, if you limit it to just to as I call them the TNA divisions, high heel divisions like bikini and wellness.
Mhm.
He still has fitness, but that's only there because I think it's more of a exciting dynamic division compared to the others. It's a tough division because you have to jump around, move around, do a lot of chicken sweat, and still come on a presentation where some of those ladies have great muscle development and great physiques.
Well, and I think you have to reframe it. Remember, I'm a professor of sport management. That's the business end of sports. So you have to look at the fact that with the exclusion of women's bodybuilding, correct? Okay. You have to ask
And
yourself,
physique.
okay, bodybuilding and physique, you have to ask yourself, what's the number of competitors that register to compete at each show? Then you look flip side over here with the emergence of Fit Model. Nowadays, I know at the North Americans, I want to say that there were at least, oh gosh, let's put it like this: Fit Model had the most competitors on the female side. Okay, so if you look at it from a balance sheet perspective, are you going to only have one or two competitors in both bodybuilding and physique? what if people are, and if this is a qualifying show for a pro card, neither of those two numbers is going to be awarded a pro card because they don't have the minimum number of competitors. So I say reframe it to what led to the decrease in competitors in women's bodybuilding and women's physique, which led to these business decisions.
Well, I know said this, but still, I remember there was still a lot of number of ladies coming to those shows. It's really more like because it goes back to his preference of it. I know in those later years it was getting kind of low, and then it is still having amateur levels because we have to at least the minimum of 5 competitors
Correct.
In a class, and then you do overall, you win the pro card,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am. I said again, I'm aware of my surroundings at all time, Madam Wayne. So but to me as a fan, I feel like it's like a slap in the face to a division that's been around for a long time. It really is the architect for everything else. It wasn't for women's bodybuilding, fitness wouldn't be around, physique wouldn't be around, figure wouldn't be around. Even somewhat in a way, I would say bikini was brought in for a reason to get more seats, more attention. I interviewed 2 ladies who did the Universe a couple of years ago, and it was
Mm-hmm.
600 competitors at that show in
Mm-hmm.
bikini. 600. But again, it's a money game because you make more money from the number of competitors and amateurs you do for the pros. Pros just got to sign, other than masters, where you still have to pay and compete. The pros just sign a contract, and you compete.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my man Ryan Lake coming through. He want to say hello Ryan, thank you for coming through, brother. I appreciate you. So folks, while we got here the lovely doctor, we're going to do this. We're going to jump through social media for a minute. She's over at IG. If you want to follow her, she has a link. She also has her living
Living
right
Nation.
Living Nation is right there, the shirt. So you want to check her out. She has provided ideas, plans. You want to work with her. She's a lovely lady. She's the voice lady. So yeah. So I just but guys, I know many of you guys, you like the big buff girls. I know it's your favorite, but still, this is a lady. We be respectful. Reach out in genuine interest. She got kids. She got a grandbaby. We don't want no problems. You sick freaks. So we're
And
gonna
I'm
jump
a July Cancer, so we can be visceral at the mouth, like cut you down real, real, real
in.
low.
Well,
Have you go
about
back to asking your mother, why did she even bother? Because your life
yeah.
no longer has purpose.
Ooh. Yeah, well, about us Scorpios. We're like a little bit on the same
Yes,
side.
my oldest daughter is a Scorpio, so yes, I do know. But the
Yeah.
July Cancers, we are very observant. We recognize patterns and we engage accordingly.
All right. So you heard it from here, her. So y'all better act right. So we're gonna jump into her social media. So you want to follow the links in the description of this live. And this is the video that I saw because I see, as I'm on IG quite often because that's why we stuff's going on. I want to be able to be aware. And this is a video that I saw and really got my attention about her. Plus her body.
Reduce menopause symptoms. Danielle is a 62-year-old vegan bikini athlete. She's been lifting since high school. She's been plant-based since 2010, and she went through menopause with almost no symptoms. Everyone called her an outlier, but the science says she may not be. There are 3 things working in her favor, and all 3 have evidence. First, the muscle. A 2025 study of 407 women found that for every unit increase in muscle mass index, menopausal symptom severity dropped by 1.6 points.
Hello, Dr. Danielle here. Go to my website and join the Living Nation movement. Subscribing to the newsletter, you will receive a free sample plan that prioritizes your strength, boosting your metabolism, plant-based food sources that increase your estrogen and progesterone as you navigate menopause. Go now.
Does muscle mass.
Yeah, I know quite a few ladies who compete who deal with postpartum or menopause because as women, your biology is totally different from us men. We are to say it like this: men, our life is to breed, battle, and to die. Y'all ladies bear our children, y'all take care of our homes, and it's one thing when you a woman of a mature age to find your sport in your life, and also with your lifestyle being a vegan. It really contributed to the issue with you for like menopause.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. As the Dr. Lobo pointed out, I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have hot flashes. I didn't experience weight gain, but yet as my doctors told me, it was because of my lifestyle, because I have low body fat percentage and I do have muscle mass, and the nutrition that I put into my body, sleeping, hydration, all of the things that's necessary to alleviate symptoms versus thinking of it as automatic, you're going to have symptoms.
Is it often, like I heard people like my sisters, my mother says, it's the change. You get to that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And you know something? I actually prefer, when I grew up, I heard my mother and my auntie say, they were going through the change, because that sounds softer. It sounds more feminine. It sounds less intimidating than menopause. Menopause sounds like what it is, a medical term. And what happens when we hear a medical term? We automatically think of diagnosis. And then with the diagnosis, then what comes? Well, how can we, prescribe some type of medication to deal with this diagnosis, when there are definitely lifestyle things, as my experience has shown, and as the studies, that there needs to be more research on it. That's basically what I'm saying, because the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of people is that, well, you're an exception, you're an outlier. And in any case that there's an outlier, I say study the outlier. What can we learn from the outlier?
I think, like, when it comes to medicine for women, and especially for Black women, for our community, we'll get overlooked more because
Oh,
we think with the same thing. Like, I remember a few years ago, I was taking a medication and I had a allergic reaction to it. It
yep.
was like Cetapril, and it tell me that Black people ain't supposed to take it. Like, I was watching this episode of the show I used to watch, MASH, where we were
Mm-hmm.
giving this kind of a medicine to people, but they couldn't give it to people who were of Arab, Jewish, or Negro descent because
Mm,
they got sick. Because certain things, or even though we do share some organs and stuff like that, biology is totally different if you look at
yes.
it.
Yes, indeed. And that's something that, we have to advocate for ourselves. That's where the Living Nation comes into play, is that, the research, the awareness, because I'm a true believer in that. My purpose here is to educate, equip, and empower. Educate people on this is what it is. Now, equip you with the tools to deal with what it is, and then empower you to actually embody and live it.
I gotta expect you that. Here's just a younger picture of her. Yeah. Ooh.
Yes, that
Uh,
was, I was 17.
mm. You're a minor. Dang, I can't. But yeah, but here she is now. And she is a
Yes,
lovely
that's that.
lady. Yeah, she, and as my other guy would say, she is beautiful. But yeah, it's good that you found something in your process as a bodybuilder. Helps you with with your training, your regiment, everything involved with the dieting. That's one thing people think about that with bodybuilding. Again, goes back to the issue of using performance enhancers, but you're doing naturally. And
Mhm.
it does take a little longer. Like, your training is, it's going to be different compared to someone who's like a little more enhanced. But still, I think right now the NPC IBB is really going more towards the natural. Just had last month we had a pro qualifier at Pittsburgh for natural
Mhm.
competitors. There's a show in Virginia, which is the Ben Weider Classic, which is a natural
Mhm.
show, and there's also some natural, Olympia and pro qualifiers.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I think really because of the stigma when the use of steroids. But here's the thing: steroids is used only as the process of recovery. It's not, some people do abuse it like anything. It can be easy
Mhm.
abuse, but it's always gonna. That's one thing about bodybuilding. It's always gonna get that stink eye when you see it, and also about in every other sport. And I've done content in MMA. I've heard MMA fighters who use it. Years ago we had a whole thing with Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and them. But those guys are baseball players. They're getting paid millions. They can do whatever they want, and go back to the Olympics and stuff like that. But like I said, the process of natural bodybuilding again is a process of time and management.
Correct. And I don't compete in the natural divisions. I compete on the mainstream divisions. And again, that goes back to my competitive nature, because I know I have the genetics, I know I have the coaching, and I know I got the face card and the body for it. So it's just a matter of putting that whole package together for me to become an IFBB pro.
Mhm. She said she got the body. Yeah, I've seen the
Yeah.
pictures. She's walking on the beach, and
Listen,
like,
when the Minceys and the Ropers came together, my father the Mincey, my mother the Roper, when they came together, that was a wonderful thing because now it's passed down to the generation. We can see the evidence of it because my ex-husband, I mean, he played basketball. He's and my children grew up. We always had our own gym in the house. So my children grew up in that, and my two younger children are both trainers. My son, in natural, people look at him and they're like, "You're not on anything." He's like, "No." I'm like, he doesn't need to be. He got the genes for it. It's in the DNA.
well, me, I had that good luck. My mother, she was a Miles Page. My daddy was a Heinz MacArthur. They gave me two things: pre-diabetes and a bad heart. I got a pacemaker, had for 12 years. And
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I was 39 when I had my first heart attack. I was at work.
Oh,
I thought
wow.
it was get a cold, but and also I wasn't take care of myself, like, cause like I'm rural country. We worked. We worked. My family was sharecroppers. We worked the fields, worked
Hmm.
farms. We only time you go to the doctor unless you want to have a baby or you're gonna fall apart sick. But for a good while, I was taking care of my mom, and she was sick for a long time. She had dealt with seizures. She's pre-diabetic. She had early stage dementia, and then I was at almost 500 pounds. And then I started, I got to check my chef. So I cut out certain things. I don't drink milk. I don't do sodas. I try to drink more water. I do
Hmm.
exercises. Sometimes can't do as much because I got two bad knees, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. But
Okay.
I've done pretty well. Like I was just maybe 10 pounds from 500. Now I'm right around 416, and it does
Okay.
take time because again, for madam, food is just it's a beautiful thing. It's something that's it's addictive. We like, especially us black folk. We love our, especially from the South. We love our meats. We love our sweets. We love that. It's like, you remember movie New Jack City with Pookie, be like, calling my name, man. Be calling me, be calling me, be calling my name, man. You're so hard. You're just, it's hard to break away from it.
Well, that's one thing where I always kind of that again, that's where I was always an outlier because to me food was fuel. That was it. It was not if anything, my off days are Sundays, okay? That's my rest days. It's difficult for me to eat on Sundays because I'm programmed to eat according to my workouts. So if I'm not working out, that means that I don't do the pre-workout 100 grams of white of jasmine rice with 14 cashews and 1 tablespoon of honey. Okay, so I'm really routine oriented, but it's not in a mechanical way. This is how I flow through my life. So, and as an example, when I was a little girl, you know how your parents would make you sit at the table to eat all of your vegetables? I was
Yeah.
the reverse. I would eat all of my. That's why my parents were not surprised in 2010 when I went vegan, because it was liberating for me because now I had a reason why I didn't want to touch the meat because I didn't like touching meat in order to cook it. I didn't like cooking because I would have to touch the meat, I would have to touch butter. I didn't like that feel. And so as a little girl, I would eat all my vegetables and ask for seconds. And then my dad was like, "Oh, you better eat all that meat off the chicken bone." But what I saw, the closer I got to the bone, was, the purple marrow. I knew that that was cooked blood. Okay. And those strings, I knew that those strings were, their ligaments. So I didn't want to eat that.
I can't say the same. I didn't want to eat my peas. I eat my chicken. I eat my pork chop. I want to eat my peas. I used to remember the lady. She used to call me the meat man. I call her Sweet Lady. She was a friend of my mother's. But
Uh,
yeah, my family, like I said, we grew up country. We had to, I had family that raised hogs and chickens, and we eat those. True story. This is a story my older sister told me. My sister Betty. She told me a story how when you were little, my father's son, my older brother Carlton, he brought a pig over, a little runt. And my sister Betty, my sister Jean, my sister Mary, and my brother James, they raised that little pig up to a full hog. Well, one day he come back from school. And the wondering what I think I forgot the pig's name. What happened to the pig? So they're eating, and then they asked Mom and Daddy what happened to the pig, and Mom said, "Well, you eating them." My sister said she gonna eat for 6 months.
And I guess,
Not-
and and it's funny. You saw me go like this, right?
yeah.
Because I was probably about 5 years old, and my dad is from Statesboro, Georgia. So we would go to Georgia for like Christmas, okay? And it was the tradition that you killed a hog for, okay? Well, I thought the hogs were the pets, okay? And when everybody's gathered around my grandmother's house for this ceremonial, and my dad had this shotgun, and I'm like, and I saw the hog, and I'm like, I went ballistic. They had to take me they had to take me away because I was like, you're not gonna kill this. Like, oh no. Mm-mm. Yeah.
Hey,
So
we didn't fight
again,
here.
it was, if anything, my parents were like, yeah, it's no biggie. She never liked eating meat anyway. She never liked that stuff. So, they didn't give me a hard time, but it can be, in the South, it can be quite challenging, to get a good vegan meal, but it's getting better. It is definitely getting better. Yes.
Taking time, like I said, we're a little slow down here, man, but we take our time. Excuse me, I put my old man glasses. I got some people asking questions here. He says,
okay.
My man No Doses says, he shot to my man No Doses says, hi. Also, he likes to ask you questions. What's Danielle's best score in competing?
My best score, I don't remember the number, but I did get runner-up, and that came really close to getting my pro card last year at the Masters Nationals in Pittsburgh. So that's how close I came. I've been runner-up several times. So that's the reason why we keep on working.
Mm-hmm. Also, he says this. He has another question. He says this. He says, since when she started competing? Well, you said, was it about how long since she's been competing?
Well, I like to use 2 dates. I started in 2014, no coaching, no knowledge of nutrition, but I got serious about it in 2023. My first coach was a woman in Jacksonville, Florida, Heather Marie Ping, and we worked, and that's when I won best presentation at the World Vegan Bodybuilding Championships in 2023. And then I got with Calvin December of 2024, and it's only been up since then. So if you look at the dates, because from 2014, let's see, I competed in, I forgot. I got third in a world bodybuilding show in Dubai back in 2015. And then it's interesting. I didn't place in the 2022 Mr. and Miss Puerto Vallarta in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, because it was all in Spanish, and your girl did not. That was interesting, because it was only when I was on my way the morning of the show that it dawned on me. You do know that you're in Mexico. You do know that this is a local show. I mean, it's regional, but it's local. It's not like a show of, international people. It's a Mexican show. And then when I get there, they didn't have a master's division. So they put me with the 18 to 23-year-olds, but I held my own. Okay. Because I didn't like I said, I didn't understand the instructions. So I was like a split second behind everybody else. So when they said, like face front, I'm like, and then I do it with a dramatic flair, because I'm like, I don't understand a word they're saying, but guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. Let me just add my little spice to it. So yes, since 2014, I jumped on the stage, and I don't see myself retiring anytime soon.
Man, you do what you did. You figure, can you make it? So also my man has a question. He goes like this. Shai says, who is her role model in competing? Like, is there anybody you really pay attention to the sport that you admire their work, their aesthetics as a bodybuilder?
Oh yes, my posing coach, Vanya. Okay, Vanya Auguste. She's Haitian American, and she won the 2024. I want to say she won 2024,
2025
2025.
Arnold
Yes.
Classic. Yeah,
Yes.
I talked about that. I would love to interview your coach. I mean, that's something a sister, especially Haitian sisters, to win a
Yes.
show like the Arnold. That's like lady I know recently did also that same year. She did something really big to tackle. Her name is Marika Jones. She just competed at Omaha. She did
Uh,
2 shows with under 24-hour period. And that's
wow.
something you rarely ever see. Marika, shout out to her. I mean, I was shooting for her for the Omaha Pro, but whatever circumstances,
What's her
bullshit,
division?
whatever.
Is she
Or
bikini?
women's physique.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was something you rarely see somebody do 2 shows in one time, but one person especially doing this content and following this sports longer. There's so many ladies, but there's one lady that really sticks out for me. I'm a fan of her. She's so beautiful, so menacing. And she's the current Miss Olympia champion. That is Andrea Shaw.
Oh yeah.
I think she's just amazing. I'm a big fan of hers. She's just so beautiful. I'm gonna tell you this quick story, and I always bring it out because I want to give a shout out to my dear friend. Her name is Eunice. She runs a company called Bad Rap. She's a lady like herself. She's in her 60s. Amazing lady. She's a physique competitor, been competing in bodybuilding since the 80s and took a step back and came
Wow.
back. Eunice runs a company called Bad Rap. She sent me this hat when I ordered some stuff. It's a really cool hat. Got 2 of them. She gave me one. I was
Okay.
at Tampa. And when I was there, was it about a few years ago, it was a little bit after my birthday. She went to Olympia when they had it in the Orlando. And she got me this issue of Muscle Development with Andrea on it. And I
Nice.
love this because it's not just the fact that this is like the last hard copy of, and the only few, I got a bunch of issues back in there, but not too many have women on the cover, especially
Right.
women bodybuilders. But what makes it so special for me, she ran into Andrea, and Andrea, she signed it.
Autographed it.
Yes, I got a friend. He be saying like she probably faked it, and she says that's her. And people told me I noticed that's her sign. That's her sign. So
Nice.
and it's just great when people like her appreciate what I'm doing, and also appreciate what she's doing for her
Right.
sport.
Right.
And again, it's like this is a sport where women, other than maybe if you're in like a division like bikini or
Hmm.
wellness is a very popular division because you're in Brazil where it
Correct.
really sprung from. And I think that's why he's so dominant because those women have those Afro aesthetics. They're a little more heavier in the bottom, have more of the roundness, the thickness. That's why I think it's a lot harder, particularly if you don't have those aesthetics to do well in wellness.
Correct. Yes. I like the way that my body composition is lean. It does not take long, for me to lean out. If anything, in order to keep the fullness, like coach will like peak week, and especially leading up to a show, I have to get up early in the morning, weigh myself, then I have to send him a picture of what I'm looking like. And then based off of what I'm looking like, that means this is what you're going to eat. Okay. And yes, call me weird. I love rice cakes. Okay.
Weird.
I love rice cakes. And the
Weird.
funny thing was at the Arnold, after prejudging, it was like, okay, let's eat. And he said you can have half of a plant burger. Okay. No, it wasn't. It was half of a plant burger, and he said I could have French fries. I was like, what? French fries?
French
And he said
fries.
he said yes, you can eat. But he even measured out the French fries because my brain was like, I haven't eaten French fries in so long. Okay. And so that they laughed at me because I was afraid to eat the French fries because even though prejudging is when they pretty much, I mean, come on, that's when you know who's gonna win, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to mess up anything going into finals. But I trust him. So I ate my 10 French fries and the half
10
of a
French
burger.
fries. 10
Yes.
French fries. So, like he say, hey, can we supersize it? So
Yeah.
can we have
So
at least 5 more French fries to it? That's the thing is that food is both a tool and a weapon in the development of the bodybuilder. And you have to be smart of how you eat it. You just and also again you go back to the vegan because you have to be very clean in your
yes.
dietary supplements. I mean,
Yes.
you have to for one thing, you can't have any kind of animal fats. You can't even use like if you cook, we have to cook like with vegetable oil. And that's also
And I bake. I pretty much bake and broil everything. I don't. I wasn't really big on frying stuff anyway. So what we do is Monday through Thursday. No, Sunday through Thursday. My dinner is 120 grams of stir fry vegetables, 2 rice cakes with a tablespoon of olive oil, and then some MCT oil that I put in some tea before I go to bed. So yeah, that's
you got to keep account of your macros too, don't you?
yes. Well, I leave all that up to Calvin. He sends me, listen, I call him the scientist. He is, because he gets this intensity, okay, especially like at the shows. He gets this intensity, and we laugh about how I wait for his feedback with my check-ins, my weekly check-ins. I wait for his feedback like I'm waiting for a final exam grade. I do.
Teach it.
Yes, I do. But that's because, I respect his craft. I respect that he knows what he's doing. Okay. I know how to coach track runners. Okay. Sprinters and all of that. I know how to develop fitness plans for people who want to release weight. I don't use lose, because the brain goes into finding when you say you're going to lose weight. That's the reason why people yo-yo. That's my little plug. But, I can develop plans to help people release weight and, incorporate strength training into their lifestyle. But when it comes to bodybuilding and myself, I don't want to coach myself. That's what he's for. That's what, I want to go with somebody who is an elite level coach, who knows what he's doing, and who is committed to making sure that his athletes are in the best condition and do the best presentation each time they hit the stage.
Whereas my other guy says, "Doctor, I don't have a plan. I'm just a dog chasing cars. I don't know when I get one." But that's your coach has a good plan for you, and that's good to have a good relationship with your coach, because But also, you have to be your own advocate too. But sometimes you have to know what's best for you. They might know what's best for you, but sometimes you know your own body. We have here a comment from our man, shout out to our man, No Dose, says, "What is her daily routine like?" So what's routine for you during the week when you're training, when you're working out?
I wake up at 5:30 every day, 7 days a week. I stretch. I do yoga. I do Pilates. If it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I will then do fasted cardio for 35 minutes. But on Mondays and Thursdays, that's my HIIT and light legs and glutes. So after breakfast, probably about an hour and a half later, depending on what time, because my meal 2 rather, is between 10 and 11 a.m. And that's what I was describing. That's when I do the tofu, 110 grams of tofu, 80 grams of vegetables, 40 grams of avocado. I eat that. And then about 30 minutes before I plan to go work out, I'll do the 100 grams of jasmine rice with 1 tablespoon of honey and 14 cashews. Okay, so then I go work out. Mondays, like I said, Mondays and Thursdays are HIIT and light glutes and legs. Tuesdays and Fridays are upper body. And then Wednesdays and Saturdays are my heavy leg days. And then again, and then afterwards, each workout, 15 minutes on the stairs. So level 5 too, level 5.
Okay, I couldn't do those stairs, master. My knees be like, "Nigga, get up!" I'd be like, "Ugh." Like I try. I used to go to Planet Fitness. I used to go on to the Stairmaster. I do the bike so better, easier on my knees.
Yeah.
But I look at that Stairmaster. I said, "No, I can't do that. That's like climbing stairs." One time I visited my niece, my oldest niece, and she had a house like a 2-story, and I'd stay in the bedroom stair. And I was like, yeah, I lived in a 1-story house most of my life, but I got used to it. But also, it's good, the regimen in the training, and you're also understanding the factors what goes to the athlete. like doing your training, which is the ones that is your favorite? That want to say, I know I love doing the day, and I want to say, shit, why I gotta do this? I don't want to do this.
You know what? I was thinking about this yesterday during my heavy legs. It's something about the most challenging that I really like. And I'm going to say the reason why I like it is because each time I complete it, I feel a sense of, yay, I did it. I did it. And that would be Bulgarian split squats. Okay. It's like doing Bulgarian split squats. And especially because I do it with two 25-pound dumbbells. Okay. So doing those split squats, and don't get me wrong, it is challenging, but there's something about the focus of doing, the focus on the form and the breath. It turns into meditation for me. So, and everybody knows. I mean, I go into the gym and I exhale like, finally, I'm in my sanctuary, because I go into my own zone. I'm not the social person in the gym. I'm old school. I handwrite in my notebook my workouts. Okay. So people know, you see her, she has that notebook open. She is marking off each set, each rep. When she's done, she goes. Okay. That's my office, and I go there to get my work done.
Yeah. I remember a while back, an interview lady, she just turned pro right after being a muscle fest, and she's a Bulgarian, and she loves Bulgarian split squats. She was actually, her and another lady who was a wellness competitor, a Puerto Rican wellness competitor, were doing, so we doing a Bulgarian and a Puerto Rican doing split squats together. I laughed because anytime I say, when somebody tell me, say, I love leg day, I say, you're a sick Mexican freak. I mean, what's wrong with you? I mean, but I think it's true that if you work on your strengths as much as your weaknesses, you want to make those moves, especially in a division like wellness, I'm not sorry, bikini, where you need that nice connection. You don't want too much around cap to your shoulders. You don't want too much gyrations. You want that fine line where everything comes together, but you don't want to overindulge on it.
Correct. You want the right amount of definition. It's like you want to hit the sweet spot. Like, a lot of people, in the gym, in your commercial gyms, a lot of the ladies are not bodybuilders. So they don't focus so much on the arms. Whereas I'm looking, on my upper body day, I'm looking in the mirror like, ooh, look at my shoulders. Y'all looking good, Yes. So, the aspects of the body, seeing the body develop, how I feel, afterwards, because strength training is great for your emotions. It is great for moving through, I don't have control over anything external to me, but that is my time. That is where I have control. So when I go to the gym, even on days I may not, quote unquote, feel like it, it's not an option, because I know that if I don't go, I will feel worse. So that's the way I lift my spirits.
And that's where the part discipline comes in, because motivation
Yes.
can change from one day to another. But discipline is a more important part of being a bodybuilder, being consistent, being disciplined, being determined. Because sometimes the everyday person, that's why I think one thing about bodybuilding, every person doesn't want to make those, that put in that investment, that time. Because when I get 5 o'clock, when I used to work at jobs, I get up and go to work and come home. When I used to lift weights, it was in high school. I used to love lifting weights because I was one of the strongest guys on my team. Because by the time I was like 17, I was already bench pressing 350. I was squatting 550. I mean, some guys said, "Man, George, you cock strong." Coach nominee of it, and it was just something you enjoy. But then you get to the real world where you don't have that time. It's hard to find the time to. Like, I'm doing some stuff right now because I'm planning on going on a trip and I want to be in a better shape because I move around a little bit. I'm doing little stuff like some stuff with barbells, some cardio stuff, and also try to work on my diet, because that's a tough part about it. Again, it goes back to the temptation of the world, summer's coming around here in the States. It won't be enough. It will be about another month to things like we have 4th of July coming up, and you have barbecues to start, especially in the South. And that's just the hard part. And you don't eat meat. I eat your plate if you don't mind. So,
well, you know what? And if there's anything that I would tell people, it is time is relative. Okay. And if you can devote time to your employer, to your family, then your first priority is to devote the time to yourself, which is why I get up at 5:30 in the morning. And, back 20 years ago, I was a professor at Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Okay. I lived in Columbia, South Carolina, which that one way, that was about an hour and a half drive. My first semester, the dean scheduled me to teach classes at 7 a.m. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. so that I could do my workout and be at work by 7. Because my first commitment, and that's just me, okay, is that if I don't prioritize myself, I am of no use to my family. Like, my children were so conditioned about me and my workouts that I can remember, my middle daughter, who's going to be 34 soon, if I get in a mood, they're like, did mom have her workout today? Okay. So I can remember her coming to me at like 3 years old, said, Mommy, did you work out today? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Mommy, you need your workout. Okay. So, and my grandson, as an infant, he recognized Mimi needs to work out. Mimi pulls out pull out my mat for yoga, and it's a done deal. And my children, they grew up with that. And I think that is something that more people need to understand. We only get one life. We only have one body. Okay. And the quality of our life is going to depend upon how we treat our bodies. What are we putting in our mouths? I know that food, we can get into a whole discourse on how food is addictive because of preservatives. Okay. And additives to the food to make people, and you look at the portion size, when you go to restaurants, those portion sizes could last you for at least 2 to 3 days, and they give you that in one plate. So it becomes a matter of being intentional about your nutrition, being